A guy calls out to a young man and tells him he has a 1 in a million talent for martial arts. He says that if he joined the Steel Bone Sect, his potential would be limitless. Squatting, the young man tries to look up and asks the guy talking to him to take his foot off his head. This is our protagonist and leader of the Steel Bone Sect, Jumchang Zio. He tells the guy who's stepping on him that he saw him hitting his disciple. The guy says he was just trying to chat with her, so our boy grabs him by the collar and says that's fine then. He'll give him a little more time to think about his offer to join his sect. Trembling, the guy says he's already joined the Rising Water Sect. June then says it's a shame, but it seems like his destiny isn't with the Steel Bone Sect. He asks Kanshin if this guy was bothering her. She's the first disciple of the sect and says he tried to touch her hand. At that, June kicks the guy in the chin, saying he's looking for trouble. While the guy begs him to stop, insisting he wasn't trying to offend the girl, the poor guy gets beaten up in the jungle. After that, the two leave with June asking Kanshin if he looked cool and she wonders why he only punched the guy in the face. From a distance, the poor guy vows to make them pay for this. Then we arrive at the Steel Bone Sect. The leader of this place once jumped off a cliff and survived, and that's how he founded this sect and named it. After 10 continuous years of work, he finally turned it into a level 9 sect. However, he was sent to prison for causing trouble at his cousin's house, and when he tried to escape, he was executed. And that's how Arjun became the leader of this incredible place. He took control of this body when its owner was crushed by the entrance sign. The poor guy couldn't believe he'd have to take over such a fool's place, but none of that would kill his determination. Like people from other stories, he's sure he'll receive a system and become a genius. At that moment, the system appears. He's confused, wondering if it's really going to be that easy. Along with the area, a little window pops up. Our boy thinks the interface has appeared in full force, but what shows up are details about the sect, stating that it's a level 1 place with 1 member and 0 contributions. His task was to transform this failing sect into the greatest in the entire world, with 100,000 disciples within 100 years. He thinks that for a first mission, it doesn't sound too easy, especially considering he's incredibly weak, the place is bankrupt, and it has only 1 member. He concludes that no system would ever offer a mission without some kind of reward if it were impossible. It must be because of the body that died crushed. Then a notification appears, telling him to open the first gift. He smiles, saying he knew getting something was impossible otherwise. And in his hands, a spatial ring appears. He's confused, wondering what kind of finger this size is meant for if that's supposed to be a ring. Our boy's name means someone who smiles a lot. However, it's going to be hard to keep smiling considering he's received a basically impossible mission. Normally, people receive tons of power and abilities, so why did he get this gigantic ring? Even though it didn't look like it, it had an inscription saying it was indeed a ring. Since it was a spatial ring, he decided to check if there was anything inside. A lot of special effects happened, and he imagined there'd be some treasures. However, when he went in, there was just a chunk of a block. He wondered why it seemed so useless. He was expecting a legendary weapon, some kind of guardian or something that would change his life. However, he hears a heartbeat coming from the block. He's sure there's some kind of martial genius inside that will teach him everything. Obviously, something kept inside such a rare item couldn't be useless. Then a strange writing appears, showing the detonation time is 99 years and 23 hours. The bomb would only be disarmed if he completed the main mission. He throws the thing away, wondering why the artifact he received is actually a bomb. Strangely, a timer decreases whenever it's tossed around. He says it's useless, and the timer isn't even counting down right. The system warns that the item has his soul and consciousness, so if he irritates it, the countdown will go faster. The poor guy makes a little prayer hoping to recover the time. He apologizes to the stone and tells the system he wants to go home because this reincarnation is a joke. However, the system says there's no way back, and if he doesn't complete the mission, he'll be blown up forever. Finally, he receives the first item, the Calamity Saber. The thing drops right between his legs. The system tells him at least it's good for him to make good use of it. He decides to check some information to figure out how he's going to do this. The things he has no idea about yet are what this sect construction business is and what the contribution value means. The system gives him a list of tasks ranging from building a medicine refining place to a beast tower, and when he reaches level 5 or higher, he will be able to see more. He asks how he's supposed to do these things, and the system says he will need more disciples, and to increase contribution, he has to place valuable treasures in the sect. With that, he could buy treasures and he gets interested. He asks how to open this shop and the system says he needs 1 point. He immediately wants to know how to get it. The system tells him he will need more disciples. He already understands that everything depends on his disciples since he will need construction and treasure points. He decides that his task from now on will be to recruit more people, so he gets to work. He makes a recruitment sign and says that with his charm, he'll have at least 103 days. However, a month and a half passes and the poor guy is left abandoned. He wonders how it's possible that not a single person has shown up, until someone calls out to him. Kanshin shows up and says she wants to join the sect. He immediately pulls out the instant noodles, runs up to her face and says she's beautiful and that the boss is willing to accept her. She says that if he's the boss, she's no longer interested in joining. Our boy tells her not to give up so easily, saying the place has a lot of potential. He starts making up all sorts of stories talking about how hard he worked to get to his position, that he's new, and he didn't have to insist much and she accepted, which he finds suspicious, but it's fine since that's what he wanted. With that, the sect reaches 2 members and the contribution increases to 1. Now he can take a look at the system shop. He's eager to see the secret techniques that will make him invincible. However, what he gets is a new player pack worth 1 measly point. He turns around crying, saying he should have known it wasn't going to be so easy to get something good. The system asks if he wants to take a look at the pack and he obviously says yes. He receives 2 items that help him escape and another one that makes him take less damage. Clearly, his life isn't going to be easy. He then opens the spatial ring and takes a look at the items. He asks the system about the experience item and the system says just breaking it will make him a little stronger. Right away, he breaks the item saying his time has come. With that, his power starts to increase and he says he now feels the path of immortality. However, the system tells him to wake up to reality. The place he's in now is below the normal minimum. He asks what this power seal opening is and the system says it's to unlock the Calamity Saber. He asks what kind of level 1 weapon needs to be unlocked. However, at least he gets an important piece of information. The system tells him about a nearby city where he could recruit other disciples. That's when suddenly, something comes spinning in the air and 5 guys appear in front of the 2. They're confused, wondering who these crazy people are. It's the bandana guy saying it was he who beat up the poor guy. Unfortunately, the 2 of them don't remember who this guy is. Kanshin asks and our boy says he thinks it's the guy he stepped on. The bandana guy says June was bold to hit someone from the rising sect and asks for his name. Our boy says he's June, the leader of the Steelbone sect. Everyone recognizes this sect as the one from the old leader who got caught at his cousin's house and then died trying to escape from prison. June shouts at them to stop slandering their sect like that. However, the guy wants to know how the leader of a worthless sect dares to harm his disciple. Our boy confidently tells Kanshin to take a step back because he's going to take care of everyone. She just tells him to remember that before he dies, she'll have to take the position from him. He's confused because she's the only disciple who wants to steal his position. But confidently, she activates the power she received. And with that, a fiery aura starts coming out of the boy. The guys ask if this isn't the weakest leader they've ever seen since the guy's only at level 3. Everyone starts laughing saying they've seen apprentices stronger than this leader. Then the guys activate their auras, saying they'll save time and finish him off quickly. Kanshin notices that the boy has dragged himself all over the field. She asks if he doesn't understand the situation. The apprentices next to her couldn't even react to this. And the system gives him the mission to deal with these 4 guys. From the ground, the boss asks how it's possible for someone with 3 energy points to be so strong. Our boy says it's obvious. It's because he's a sect leader. And immediately, the bandana guy's apprentices jump in, saying they won't let him get away with this. However, June reveals the 5th circle around his arm, which is the level he reached by breaking that seal. And the idiots realize that he had hidden his power. With that, he easily takes care of the guys. Everyone falls to the ground, and he calls Kanshin to leave. With that, they head towards the city. But on the way, she says he should have killed them to avoid future problems. Our boy asks why they would be so cruel. She replies that in the Starry Land continent, you can't show mercy to enemies. He doesn't even know that he's not qualified to be a sect leader. Our boy remembers that the laws here are very different from those on Earth. It's a place where you can't afford to be merciful. However, the system gives him a secondary mission. He is to educate Kanshin about his beliefs and protect his dignity as the sect leader. Our boy wonders why he would have to go through something like this. But he understands that he must assert his authority as the leader of the sect. So he says he understands that they can't be kind to enemies. However, she needs to remember that they are martial artists who seek truth and purity. There's no reason to harm those who pose no threat, as it would only stain their reputation. The system congratulates him for the lesson, and he gains a point. Confidently, he feels the wind hit his back at the perfect moment, making him look stylish as he speaks. Kanshin says she understands that the master can't do that, but she will finish them off instead. Our boy tells her she needs to be a bit calmer because she only ever talks about fighting and killing. She immediately points her sword at him and asks why a woman couldn't just focus on fighting and killing. She would obey him as the leader, but he better not underestimate her. Our boy is startled by her aggressive reaction, already certain she's been through a lot. He then glances at the system. For having beaten the guys and giving the moral lesson, he now has 10 points. As they walk, she wonders what the idiot is doing. Our boy wants to buy something, but the problem is that everything is too expensive. Until he finds a junior healing pill worth 1 point. However, he decides to save it for when he's dying. Suddenly Kanshin stops and warns that someone is watching them. The bushes ahead are rustling and our boy imagines it must be a destructive creature. He warns Kanshin that this path looks bad and suggests they change routes. However, she says she feels it's not a frightening creature. She points and says it's actually a badly injured human. Jem gets closer and says the wounds look severe. Since the breathing is failing, he knows the guy is on the verge of death. It seems like he fought a creature and ended up losing. She says she understands and asks when they're leaving. Our boy questions if she's not even slightly inclined to save the poor guy. She asks why he wants to save him if he's not a medicine cultivator. Clearly, there's nothing he can do. He starts to materialize the pill, saying that he may not know how to create one, but he has one of these, spending a point in the process. He didn't expect to use it so soon, but is eager to see the effect. He gives the pill to the guy. Kanshin says that any common medicine won't heal the internal injuries he has. However, at that moment, she hears a cough. The guy is already getting up and our boy asks what she thinks of that. She's confused about how someone on the verge of death was revived as soon as they took this pill. Maybe her master is more mysterious than she thought. Meanwhile, the scoundrel is only thinking about how to get rich by selling it. He immediately orders the system to open the shop, saying he wants to buy a bunch more. Considering that in the martial world, people get hurt all the time, he'd become a king. With that money, he'd buy tons of disciples and the sect would grow giant. However, he can only buy one per month. At that moment, his dream of getting rich is shattered. That's when he notices the guy he healed is gone. She says he left without saying anything. Our boy asks how someone can be so ungrateful. He spent a contribution point and an item that won't return for a month. Kanshin suggests that he should be a little crueler as he won't gain anything by being good in their land. The poor guy was thinking of saving the man but he fled just like that. He starts to realize that in this place there are no laws and the moral restrictions of Earth don't apply here. He'll have to get used to the Starry Land and follow the rules of this world. Basically, living by the law of the jungle. Here he can have 50 women and be the richest in the world as long as he's tremendously strong. The system strangely congratulates him for understanding how this place works and he gains 10 contribution points. He didn't know that there were secret missions like this. The system explains that there are main missions, secondary missions, and secret missions. And lastly, there's something called epic missions, but he's too weak to know about that. Our boy already wants one of those, knowing the reward must be great. The system tells him that when he reaches the right level, those missions will be unlocked. He asks when that will happen and the system says that information is not available. He celebrates at least gaining 10 points to buy something in the shop. At that moment, someone slashes him in the face with a sword. It's Kenshin who tells him they've arrived at Jinying City. Our boy takes a look and notices the city walls are incredibly tall. Seeing this, he vows that one day the Steel-Bone Sect will be more magnificent than this city. The guys nearby ask why an idiot disciple of this failing sect is here. Our boy tells them he's not a disciple. He's the leader of the Steel-Bone Sect. Everyone falls silent and then starts laughing in his face, saying this is ridiculous. Not only is it idiotic that a sect like this still exists, but also that he had the audacity to show up at the recruitment meeting. Others say they can feel that at most he has the power of someone who awakened 3 levels. And with that, the poor guy was mocked from all sides. You never imagined it would be so difficult to carry the name of this place. Why did he come to a world where not only did he receive a system that doesn't help much but also a negative reputation? Kenshin touches his shoulder. He turns around saying that at least he can count on her. But she just says she understands he's feeling extremely embarrassed by the reputation. He feels desolate that this disciple doesn't hold back with her words. However, he stands up and says he's heard much worse and won't be affected by others' criticism. It's time for them to head to the recruitment area. On the way, she asks how he can stand being humiliated like this, and he wonders how this damn girl knows what he's thinking. However, he replies that he just has to endure a little because the only thing that makes him shut up is showing power. So far, he had completed missions given by the system, but now he would finally make the first move. The domination of Starry Land was about to begin. Meanwhile, in another nearby tent, a boy tells his master that this year they will recruit many high-quality youths. However, one next to him says they are a level 8 sect, so they should forget about getting the talented kids. This year, the Gentle Blades sect would take all the first-ranked disciples. The two start arguing, wanting to see who will get the best ones. Until someone walks between them, throws an umbrella on the ground, and says this cheap tent wasn't so bad after all. The saber guy asks who he thinks he is to stand next to his sect, and the one next to him warns that he's the leader of the Steel-Bone Sect, which is the disgrace of all sections. The saber guy then says he will be kind and give him the chance to move away from that spot. Our boy replies that all sects are members of the alliance, so they can remain in harmony. However, the old man on the other side says he would have considered that in the past, but having a sect like his next to their tent is a disgrace. June says the tent will stay there whether they like it or not, and no bald guy around will stop his plans. They say that even though he's not bald, he doesn't have any members, and they immediately order them to be removed from there. Our boy stands up and says it's a great chance to get some publicity for the sect, but at that moment someone shouts that Lai Qingyang from that family is arriving. Immediately, one of the old men says he doesn't care about June, and is going to do what's most important. Our boy thinks that name sounds familiar. The others nearby comment that as a descendant of the Li family, this guy has incredible talent. Talent in this world is defined by the spiritual root, which determines the maximum power someone can achieve in their life. In a small place like this city, even a medium root is something very rare, while our boy has an inferior root. He knows this Lai Qingyang is a once-in-a-generation talent, and he'll have to trick him somehow to make him join the sect. However, a crowd is already calling for the guy, offering all sorts of support, even other positions, all the resources he wants, and even a command over all the disciples. He's just standing there, enjoying being pampered by everyone. At that moment, our boy asks if Chan Xin knows that guy. She says he's the one who was injured under the tree he saved. He sees that it's the boy and says this is interesting. At that moment, an old man approaches and calls out to King Yang, asking if he wants to join the Kongshin Mountain sect. Everyone knows this is a level 5 sect in Qingyang City. Considering how talented the boy is, it's definitely a great option. Our boy tries to pretend this doesn't mean anything to him, but is disheartened that there are such strong people around. But then someone approaches. It's King Yang, who asks if the guy there is the leader of the Steel-Bone Sect. Everyone is confused, wondering why he would go to that trash sect. Chan says yes, he's the leader of the incredible Steel Blood Sect. The bald men wonder if they're hallucinating seeing this. Why is the genius of Qingyang City bowing to that trash? Kongshin is already excited to see this. King Yang apologizes for not thanking him when he saved him. Our boy says he's just a kid, and that it was nothing. He pulls him by the arm and says that if he hadn't thanked him now, he wouldn't even have remembered it. Kongshin knows the rascal and tends to use this as an excuse. And at that moment, the guy asks him to talk a little more about his sect. Our boy then receives a secondary mission. He gets all excited and even gives himself a slap to hide the smile. He needs to tell the glorious story of the Steel Bones sect and make the guy join. However, June wonders since when they had a glorious history. At that moment, the three old men say that place is not worthy of him. Their greatest contribution was that the previous owner helped stop the distribution of explicit products. June says they better not talk like that of the glorious Steel Bones sect. It's just that common people don't know that, in fact, his sect is much older and has a long history. King Yang asks to know more, and the others wonder why the boy seems interested. So, our boy asks if he knows about the Eastern Sea. King Yang says he's heard it's an endless sea full of terrifying sea creatures. June then says that at the end of the sea lies the state of LA. There you'll find two divine mountains, the Flower Mountain and the Steel Bone Mountain. Our boy decides to adapt an existing story that no one there knows. He says that the Steel Bones sect was born from this mountain. The first elder of the sect was known as Sun Wukong, also called the Monkey King. The people around say that this story sounds pretty realistic. Could it be true? However, the old man shouts that it doesn't make sense. The Eastern Sea is extremely dangerous and even martial emperors don't dare venture into it. Besides, he's never heard of this state of LA or this mountain. June says that clearly, old man doesn't know anything about Starry Land. The old man starts cursing, saying he's been around much longer than June, and then asks him to tell the story of this Sun Wukong. June then says that Wukong's master gained the power of nature after being incubated for more than 1,000 years. He then fled to the Fenglia Mountains, where he practiced. All this, of course, is a story he's stealing. The old man says it doesn't make sense for him to have incubated the power for so long since humans are made of flesh and bone. June says that apparently, the old man knows less than he thought and doesn't understand the evolution of all creatures. The old man replies that everything he's been saying makes no sense. However, King Yang simply says he never imagined they had such a rich history. But even if this sect has such a past, what is the advantage of joining it now? The old man gets emotional. That was the perfect question. Even if they have a history, the sect is worthless now. Our boy says that indeed nothing lasts forever and the sect became what it is now. However, this also proves they have survived through time, showing a solid foundation. And their knowledge is applied in things like the pill he gave away. King Yang knows that the pill healed him in seconds, as if by a miracle. Not to mention that he gave it to a stranger he didn't even know, which isn't normal in this place. Maybe what he's saying makes some sense. Our boy then says he will revitalize the sect and what the others can offer now might be slightly better. But only with them would King Yang become a true martial emperor. The old man shouts, asking how he dares say such things. An emperor is the highest stage a human can reach. However, King Yang interrupts his speech saying okay and agrees to join the Steel Bones sect. With that, it's confirmed. The 16-year-old boy, a top-ranking talent at level 10, had joined the sect. With this, June earns 5 points. Man, this system is stingy. But now, they have 3 members and 20 contribution points. The old man approaches King Yang, saying he has a promising future and shouldn't waste his superior root on such a trashy sect. However, June says that while the situation isn't great now, it won't stay that way for long. He guarantees that within 3 years at most, his sect will surpass the Kongshin Mountain sect. The old man asks what he means by surpassing their sect and says he better learn to choose his words carefully. Making his sect stronger than Kongshin Mountain, he'll have to help the boy understand the difference between the two. However, King Yang calls for Elder Mei and asks him not to disrespect his sect leader. The old man is confused about when this happened. He then turns around and says he understands and wants to see how June will develop this place. Until someone asks Elder Mei to wait a minute. It's Master Lai, King Yang's father, who says his son is still very young and naive. He will accept the offer on his son's behalf. However, King Yang says he's already in the Steel-Bone sect. But his father orders him to shut up, saying that this decision affects the entire family, so it's not up to him. The boy, however, responds that his father taught him to be honest, and now that he's joined the Steel-Bone sect, he's not leaving. Angry, his father says that if he doesn't leave this sect now, he will no longer be cared for as a son and immediately starts coughing, his health deteriorating. The man next to him tells the young master to understand that his father is sick and cannot be stressed. Another adds that being just to his father is the basis of all virtue, so he shouldn't act this way. King Yang remains silent. Then someone touches his shoulder. It's our boy who says he guarantees that King Yang will go far. The old man is furious because he knows this boy was tricked by this scoundrel. He then says that to make an extraordinary disciple, the person himself must be extraordinary. If he's so confident, he must be very experienced. Our boy says he doesn't want to be too arrogant, but he alone knows more than all of them combined. Qian Chen thinks this exaggeration of his is getting out of control. The father obviously doesn't want to accept this and says that if that's the case, he should teach everyone a little. He pulls out a book, saying that in King Yang's city, there's a technique that has been passed down for hundreds of years. It's called the 9 styles of wielding a sword. However, even after years and years of practice, no one has ever mastered the 9th style. If Zheng manages that, he will believe his words. Otherwise, he will have to expel his son from the sect. Our boy smiles, thinking this bastard is trying to embarrass him in front of everyone. However, he just replies that it's not a problem. He immediately tells the system to open the shop. He remembers a spell that would work in this situation. It allows him to instantly understand the martial arts and secrets of his opponent for 60 minutes. He activates the power right away. He quickly schemes through the book. As he flips through the pages, everyone watches. People wonder what he's learning given how fast he's going through the pages. Our boy decides to make up any random name and calls it quantum meditation. And with that, bam, he closes the book. He then asks Qian Chen to give him a sword. As soon as he grabs it, he unleashes lightning and makes a cut that exudes an aura. The old man is shocked by the pressure in the air created by that. The boy had mastered the first style in just 1 minute. He made another slash, which was the second style's attack. The old man was stunned since it took him 5 days to get that far. Then Chen made the third cut, forcing the old man to dodge to avoid being killed. Chen says he's going too slow and leaps into the sky, sending a downward slash. That's the 8th style. The guys are shocked that he really learned so quickly. However, seeing that he stopped, the old man asks if he didn't learn the 9th style. Our boy continues concentrating his aura. Behind him, Qin Yang notices it's the realm of the sword. Everyone starts speculating, wondering how this is possible, until an old man tells everyone to shut up. This is a rare chance in anyone's life, so they shouldn't disturb him. Our boy responds that he's not bad. And if that's the case, he wants the old man to help him test his power as he thinks the old man is the only one who would survive his attack. With that, an aura emanates from the sword and an explosion is launched in the old man's direction. The slash moves like a fin cutting through the sea toward the old man, who has to defend himself before he can respond. He realizes the power of it is truly oppressive. However, he manages to tear the attack in half, proving the boy is an apprentice and worst of all, at the 5th power level.